I would like to share a channeled message for the lost city of gold in Peru, El Dorado. I have contemplated, meditated upon the lost city of gold, El Dorado, for many years, and this is what I pick up about the lost city of gold. Firstly, I feel the lost city of gold is underneath, or the entrance, one of many, is underneath a major burial ground of a chief belonging to the ancient world, and that the city is actually inside the mountain and also underneath the mountain, but it is very deep in the forest, away from modern day cities. It cannot be accessed easily. The city of gold is very much still there today. I just see these gold sort of sculptures being small, being very large within a cave system that is somehow possessing some kind of technology, an ancient technology that is able to create this sort of underground cave mountain city that belongs to a civilization that is much older than what we think. It goes way beyond centuries, thousands of years. I feel the city of gold, to access it, I've always saw it as some kind of door, but it's like made of stone, and it can be unlocked like with a password. It may not be a password what we think today, but to open it you have to have some kind of knowledge, almost like some kind of language. And when I think of people discovering it, I see a balloon. I don't know if someone will have some kind of balloon technology and will discover it, but I feel like it's something about cave systems. It's something about a mountain. Not every mountain, there's so many, but there's one mountain that has cave systems that will be detected maybe by some kind of balloon that can, like a sonar type of device that can kind of x-ray mountains. But this mountain is deep in the mountains upon mountains. But I do feel like there was a path, but the path was, I guess now it's just completely inside the jungle or the forest. But I do believe a father and son will discover the city of gold. I'm hearing 2050, after this time. But it's going to be due to advanced technologies and being able to surveillance the area. It won't be through direct contacts, such as an expedition on the ground. It's going to be something aerial, something found in the sky through some kind of advanced technologies that can kind of map out the different mountains. I do believe there is a city under the mountain. It's a particular mountain. I feel that the ancients worshipped because of some kind of connection to extraterrestrials. I believe this mountain was not just their mountain, it was also shared with some kind of extraterrestrial group that was also coexisting and mining for gold at the same time that this particular civilization was, I guess, existing, this native tribes. And I feel that this extraterrestrial group was also mining for gold. And actually, the reason why they had so much gold is because they had a technology that was given to them by this extraterrestrial group that could access a really large area of gold that seems to be somewhat deep underground, and also showed them technology on like some sort of just feels like cave dwelling, but like can go deep into the earth, deep into the mountain. And it's very sophisticated, something that we couldn't even do today. But I do feel a lot of the gold has been hidden, or the city was hidden. I don't feel like it's on the surface because it was hidden because of war, some kind of war over the gold that went on maybe for centuries or something. So I feel that many people, it's like a riddle. It's like finding it. It will only be found through advanced technology. I feel like it is designed to only be found by people who have advanced technology. It will not be discovered by just somebody just kind of walking up to it. It was created by advanced technology. The gold itself is advanced technology. The sculptures or the way that it's crafted together is working with some kind of diamond technology, something that is beyond what we think of native people tools. So I think the only way to really kind of find it is to have some kind of advanced technology that we will have in the coming of decades and after the 2050. And this will bring a lot of knowledge to this extraterrestrial group that also lived here and was mining for gold, particularly in this area. This mountain was like known as the Mountain of Gold, or the Gold Mountain, because it was very sacred. But I do feel some of the sculptures or the gold relics actually have some kind of extraterrestrial language or written language or appearance that actually look like the silhouette or the features of these extraterrestrial beings. So it's more than just bowls or plates or masks or coins. I actually feel that it's something very sophisticated that we don't even have today anywhere when we think of like gold plates, gold walls, shrines, gold statues. And the only reason that these native people of this past ancient world were able to find it is because of the extraterrestrial influence that gave them the technology and showed them how to do it. And I feel these native people were very different than what we think of the people of Peru. I feel that they actually were very advanced spiritually and economically. They were actually very advanced, like species of human, very similar to us today, but actually more advanced, like psychologically, mentally, emotionally. They were very high spiritual beings, very masterful beings, more emotionally and spiritually mature than us today as common human beings. They're not the same species of human. They're a different species of human. I feel that they have somewhat of a different head shape than us today. I feel like they may have a larger head shape, a longer forehead. I feel like they may have I feel that they're somewhat have a smaller body, maybe smaller bones. but they have definitely something about the skull is different, larger. But this is a very small civilization that was very powerful in its climax of its time. But I do feel like these beings went away. I don't know if it was a particular species of human that was different from the other groups. But I do feel like this particular group of people worship the star beings. And even some of them might have been considered like hybrids, or they had some kind of extraterrestrial DNA. They're different. Their skeletons are different than any other native people, but they're not these graves are very deep under the ground because it's very old. And they were very isolated from others, or other tribes, other areas, other mountains. They were very isolated. They lived in their own kind of world. These native people might have actually been like extraterrestrials, like astronauts in some ways, but then maybe came to Earth and started to create their own tribe or their own sort of colony on this Earth. It's just the story of these sort of native people. It's not what we think of just indigenous people. These quote unquote indigenous people of this ancient world were actually advanced and masters, like real master shamans. And they were not just bound to Earth. I feel like they also had connection to stars. They had sophistication, astrology, cosmology. I feel it was very much, they had I'm hearing a really high shamanism, very, very powerful people. But again, they were not just human. They were not bound to Earth. They had knowledge of stars. But they colonized this Earth, this region, to mine gold for the star beings that they were connected to or part of, but also they created their own city of gold on this planet. But I feel like a lot of the gold was given to this other planet that's not Earth. And I think over time, as outsiders started to catch wind or gain access or knowledge of this particular advanced group of people, beings, that there was some kind of war or some kind of conflict, and eventually they all left, all these particular beings. Some of them have died and their skeletons are here, but a lot of them left, like almost like they returned to the stars. When the conflict happened, but they hid their gold in a sort of it's almost like they hid it in a, you have to, it's like a you have to solve the riddle. It's almost like it's not given in just plain, it's hidden in plain sight, but there's something, you have to have an advanced technology. You can't just access it. You have to have a shaman's mind, because it's hidden, but it's hidden in plain sight, and you have to think the way they thought in order to access it. But I do feel like this city was it was connected to other cities maybe in South America, but this was the one, it was very secluded, very private, very sacred, and kind of might have been where the original sort of star beings came and created colony, or created sort of interaction with the native people, or maybe they came to the planet and they started to kind of intermingle with the people here, indigenous people. But I feel like there were many sites where there was mining gold in South America, different sites, but this particular site was one that was like in a mountain. Like literally, I feel like it's in a mountain. Like cave systems. And this is probably the largest one, but it's also the most kept secret one. The largest one, but most kept secret, because it is the oldest. And those who saw this or had knowledge of it or access to it actually got the technology to do these other cities that actually supported the expansion and the wisdom of the shamans within the indigenous lands. So this is pretty much the message that I feel as I see it. Again, I just see it like I'm looking at a big boulder or huge monolithic stone or something, a part of a huge mountain, a huge stone. And I just see it as it goes very tall, and it's kind of like the entrance, but it's just a rock. And you would never think it's an entrance unless you have some kind of knowledge of something or language or technology. But I feel that somebody will be able to have the technology and will be able to see some kind of blueprint about the mountain and find it very different, finding that there's some kind of it's manufactured, it's not natural form. And I think that's when they'll start to find that there's gold on the actual surface of the mountain, like real actual gold type of walls, mixed in with rock, even like a walkway. And then also find entryways, almost like I'm seeing big holes, almost like it looks like holes in a cave, like when you look up from a cave you see a hole in the ceiling. And there's like underground, almost like pyramid. It's like a pyramid, and it's like there's this hole, a huge hole in the ceiling of the cave that gives light. And I think that this is where you'll find more of the gold. It's almost like it's not just, it's technology that's made of gold. Or it's a technology that will be found that kind of is the tool for mining gold. Not just mining it, but also it's some kind of tool for finding gold. Like a technology that actually finds gold. Like a sonar that but it's like some kind of mapping of the land that can particularly sense. It's like a vibration machine that can sense vibration that gold gives deep in the ground and can sort of find it in an aerial type of flying over the land type of thing. Because gold gives a particular vibration, and when there's a lot of it, this machine that flies or something can sense that vibration and can pinpoint it, track it, and then that's the mining begins. Because I do feel these extraterrestrial beings in the past were mining for gold significantly all across this planet. But there was a lot of gold in this particular like South American regions. And I consider these sort of extraterrestrial beings kind of like shamans, where there's some kind of relations with indigenous people, or maybe they're somehow connected to the earth, but they don't live just on the earth. They live in other places as well. And that's why the shamans have such a knowledge of other stars. And I even feel like there's star maps on the cave walls about the stars constellations that is not even in our view. There are constellations in other galaxies that we could never see. We would never know being on Earth, but these kind of humans, they belong to this other galaxy. But So it's a very different than the indigenous people that we think of, the primitive sort of people, hunters and gatherers. This is very different. These beings are seeming human, like human DNA, but then they're almost like the fathers and mothers of the indigenous people we think of today. Like they may be created or helped facilitate the expansion of the indigenous people that we think of, the primitive type of people of the past. They're like the earliest shamans, the sort of the first shamans of this geographic region that were not earthbound. They were like astronauts in some way, explorers of different planetary systems, but they were very benevolent, willing to share knowledge. So they did share technology, so they were not kind of draining the planet, but they were definitely needing resources for their own technology or planet or something for maybe it could be for, I feel like something about the sun, something about gold having to do with this solar technology with the sun, something about wanting to need gold to harness the sun or to deflect the sun, protect yourself from the sun, something like that. I don't know. And this is like some real spaceship type of stuff. But also the gold is used for advancing your consciousness, and also I'm hearing for satellites or interstellar communication, like as a machine or something. But also is used, I'm hearing that these extraterrestrials had not a planet, they had some kind of large, I don't know if it's a spaceship, but it's like people live on it. There's generations who live on it. It's almost like it's a planet, but it's not. People live on it, or these beings live on it through many, many generations. So, anything else that I see, I feel finding it is going to require technology. I keep seeing a balloon, some kind of a balloon. They find it. I don't know what this is. And I keep seeing a father and son will find it. Maybe they're both archaeologists. Maybe they're both explorers. But they're both genius in some way with some kind of, again, technology. And it will be found it's like hidden in plain sight, but it's very far away. It's in a very untouched lands, like it's in a frontier, like it's not been touched. It's not somewhere where someone has been already. This land is almost like it's like another world. It's like another planet. It's something that hasn't been seen or touched. It's not easy to get to because I feel like the beings got to it through almost like spaceships. Like they didn't just walk there. There was some kind of other technology that could involve like UFO flying disc type of situation. Because I feel like this, the El Dorado is almost like considered an Atlantean colony. Like it has some kind of Atlantis feeling to it. Like it has a super advanced technology that reminds me of Atlantis when we think of going to the Aegean Sea with like the Mannonians, with, ancient Egypt, the Mesopotamian, going to the Atlantic Sea, these type of regions. It almost like this was going on during the Atlantis of the Aegean region. And this whatever this place, the city was actually a part of the Atlantis. It was separate in a different place, but it was a part of it. It was actually having the same technology as the Atlanteans, except it was this place, almost like it had a pyramid, a similar design. It was very cloaked because it was thick in the forest. It was very hidden, very private, very secluded. for a reason. Almost like I'm seeing mountains surround. It's almost like there's a mountain, there's other mountains, like large ones that surround it. So it's almost like enclosed, like it's encircled. It's like encompassed by all these mountains that surround it. And again, there's some kind of flying machines in there. There's a pyramid. There's some kind of pyramid thing that's around this. And it's heavily underground, like I said. And I just see holes. Like there's holes. I don't know if things open or there's big holes that in the cave systems that can be seen from the aerial view. But it's very dark right now. It's very like collapsed. Maybe a lot of it is collapsed. Maybe a lot of it is like kind of under rubble, or it's something, it's fallen apart. Like there's so much rubble. Like most of the entry or the exit is like completely in rubble, but a lot of it is still preserved because of the technology is very sustainable in its architecture for many thousands of years. But I do feel there will be a distinct difference between the sculptures of what we think of the indigenous people creating versus the sculptures, metallithic structures that were created by an earlier civilization that is not even connected to what we think of these indigenous people. So I feel like it will be discovered after 2050 because of a newfound technology. And it will be discovered by a father and son, I feel, that are very wealthy. It could be men. I'm seeing a white man and a white son that could be from Europe, who are archaeologists, but also hunters for, I'm hearing, relics, hunting for relics, like really high quality relics, like Egyptian relics that will be found in like excavated sites. Like they actually have real precious, maybe $1 million relics from like excavated sites that they have these real ancient technologies, sculptures that give way to this ancient civilization like Atlantis. And it's hidden, and that they hoard it for themselves. It's not in museums. It's not shown to the public. It's almost like a museum only for these, I don't know, these elites, where only they can go to these sort of secret museums. It's almost like a museum, like in a mansion, but only certain people can see the relics that actually talk about an ancient civilization. So I don't know what that's about, but there were actually a lot of the relics in museums has been excavated. It's actually not the full, I would say it's not even 50% of what actually has been discovered. I feel a lot of the other percentage is being held in, like, I don't know, captive or being held in secret, because these other ones that's been found actually are evidence of extraterrestrial human hybrid or an ancient Atlantean Lemurian type of presence, and they don't want people to know, because then it would mean that history has to change, and then people would know about their true history beyond the slave stuff. That everyone is so, that all we know is about the slave stuff, but there's actually a history before the slave stuff that they don't want people to know. So these are all the details that I'm picking up about this, and I feel like I have a resonance to it because of maybe there's a connection I have to this actual land and the stories of these star beings in the gold and the city of gold that the extraterrestrials helped create for humans, but also for humans to worship the gods, which were extraterrestrials. And the gold city was like a way of them worshiping the gods. But then when the gods left, there was war or conflict over trying to take the gold with other tribes or other areas. But then the city just kind of, people abandoned it because they just didn't know how to use the technology. They didn't know, it's like almost like you don't know how to drive a car, so it's like you can't do anything with it. You gotta just walk away. You just let it sit. I mean, if you don't know how to drive a car, and if you don't know how to put oil, if there's no oil, or you don't know how to replace oil with a different type of energy, it's like you can't drive. So it's like there's no point of just staying around a car, just living in a car if you don't even know how to use it. So, or if you have no oil, you have no fuel. It's worthless if it doesn't work. So this gold was more than just like relics and like statues. It was actually a technology. It was an energy source of some kind for this, I don't know, I'm just to say spaceships or satellites for consciousness, the gold raising, but it was also, there were shamans. I think there were 7 shamans, something about 7 shamans. And I'm hearing they worked with the crystal skulls. The 24 crystal skulls of this region. And it was connected to this city of gold as well. Maybe these skulls were actually the crystal skulls of the aliens' brains, or actual physical skulls from the aliens. But it was also gifts. I feel like these were offerings, gifts from the aliens to the humans for letting them take the gold from the land. It was a very respectful gift. It was a gift to help them possess the knowledge that the extraterrestrials have, to one day, where we are right now, have enough knowledge where you can eventually travel through space yourself as your own species, which we're doing now, many thousands of years later. But again, the gold, it's not just, I don't see it like just a hoard house where there's just all this gold, all this just, it's almost like just materialism. I don't feel like it was materialistic, like all this gold, like the treasure chests, some pirates show. I feel like it's actually gold in the walls, gold architecture, gold pyramid, gold floor, gold, I don't know, chandeliers. It was more used in a way of moving energy or enhancing energy or renewable energy. It was used in a different way of just using it to sell something to make money. It was actually seen as, because there was so much of it, it was actually seen as just for architecture, just for their, to match the intelligence of the extraterrestrials, to use to see if you can awaken your consciousness so you can understand the universe. And also energy used for, I don't know, I'll just say that they had Atlantean civilization. And the gold, we think of Atlantis and the Ingenious Sea as they used water. They used crystals, they used water to generate enough energy to do their technology. I think in this area, they use gold to create the same kind of high energy to generate their city, which was like we use energy to generate the city of New York. It takes a lot of energy. It comes from somewhere. So I guess I will conclude it with this simple message with some details about the events of discovering the city of gold and like what it actually is. El Dorado, the city of gold, and this ancient civilization that is connected to Atlantis and connected to an extraterrestrial group that I feel could be also connected to Egypt. Egyptians. I'm hearing Syrians, the Sirius star, something about, again, I said the star, the sun, something about the gold is used for solar energy, the sun, something about the sun. And I also feel, because I do feel like this is hidden in plain sight, and it's almost like inside the earth, I feel like it could be working with the Middle Earth theory, where the Middle Earth theory is like it through cave systems all across this planet Earth, that you can travel to like this Middle Earth, which is basically like there's a whole different, like, there's like continents inside the earth, and there's actually a sun that generates like heat and warmth for this earth inside the earth. So I think, because I do feel that this city is not on top of, I feel like it's somewhere. Maybe it does peek out a little bit on the surface of the earth, but I do feel like the bulk of it is like in a cave system, and it could be deep in the earth. Because I know a lot of extraterrestrials in present day, like modern time, like with Joshua Tree, like there are big bases under the earth that may even have their own sun, because it's massive underground situation where maybe they brought in their own sun to generate heat and warmth and light for farming and, you know, their food and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it could be similar with these underground, like, extraterrestrial bases. We think of like Joshua Tree, we think of Catalina Island, and so many other places on this planet. It would make sense that maybe there is an underground massive space where the city is, because like I said, this city is not human made. This is not indigenous people with primitive tools. This is the same technology the Egyptians used, ancient pre-dynastic Egyptians, for the Giza pyramids and all the pyramids in the pre-dynastic time. Is the same technology for Atlantis, same technology for Lemuria, same technology that created the Eastern Island monolithic structures that are massive. The same technology used for all the monolithic structures all across this planet. Tons and, massive boulders that were moved into positions that we in our cranes can't even pick that up because it's too heavy. It's the same technology. So the same technology for Atlantis and the Aegean Sea leading to the Atlantic, that kind of is the same technology that inspired the Minoan civilization, then the Mycenaean, and then we know it's the Greeks, Romans, so on. Same technology that woken and expanded the consciousness of the ancient Egyptians. When we think of coming from, mid-Africa to like North Africa with creating this united civilization with advanced technology. I feel the same technology in pre-dynastic Egypt, that again, a lot of it is like the whole Giza pyramid is completely misunderstood. It's seen as a tomb, but I think based on the architecture and the blueprint, it has a sort of obvious, right? It has an obvious appearance of being a machine. When you look at the blueprint of the Giza pyramids, it really does look like a machine. And the same as the Teotihuacan, I'm going to say Teotihuacan place, the pyramids, again, has the same kind of technology blueprint. Like, obviously, there's some kind of technology that's not just used for, like, superficial or materialistic. I feel like these beings of this earlier civilization were not materialistic the way we think they were. Not superficial, not materialistic with the gold and the glamour and the Egyptians, in all this glamour. I think that this was actually had a purpose and a statement, but also a purpose as in like connecting to the stars. Pyramids, mountains are seen as connecting. These people are cosmic. These beings are cosmic, connected to the stars. Mountain is seen for a shaman as a doorway into the universe. That's why all satellites are on mountains. Every satellite that has real contact with interstellar space is on a large mountain. The Himalayas is seen as the most sacred of sacred mountains because it gets you in the cosmic. We're cosmic beings, and that's a statement from these monolithic structures, pyramids, and all these. So the Teotihuacan, the Machu Picchu, all sort of residue, glimpses into the advanced technology, same as the Giza pyramids, or the other pyramids in Cairo, or going to North Africa, mid Africa, all these different kind of huge structures, the Stonehenge, and even these European monolithic structures that have some kind of electromagnetic vortexes and sort of anomalies with the gravity and the magnetic kind of fluctuations and the vibrations. It's all indications of this ancient civilization. And the El Dorado is a part of that. These beings, I'm getting more about them being extraterrestrials that are connected to the star Sirius, Sirius A, Sirius B. Also connected to Pleiades, the same as the Teotihuacan side of the Pleiadians, Orion constellation. That's connected to the Pleiades, galactic, galactic allies, galactic union between the Orions and the Pleiadians, some kind of galactic union, such as, we think of the union we have with our allies in the U.S., right? And so it's much more than just the gold that you wear on your ears and around your neck and you keep hoarding in your garage or whatever where you're safe. It was more than that. Okay, there was an economy of gold, meaning El Dorado, your currency was gold. Everybody had gold. There was not some people had gold and other people had no gold. The whole currency was based off of gold. So it wasn't today where only certain privileged people have gold. Everybody had some kind of gold. More gold, less gold. And I think it was like coins. Very different economy. But there was so much abundance of it. So there wasn't really like a sense of shortage, or wasn't seen as like a rare thing at the time. Because there was so much, because they had some kind of technology on how to find it, and they had a lot of it. And it was because they were connected to some deep, like Middle Earth type of underground situation. So it's really connected to like the Middle Earth theory. It's connected to the Atlantean theory. It's connected to the extraterrestrial ancient astronaut theory. It's also connected to like a pre-dynastic Egyptian, like there was before the last ice age, there was actually a more advanced civilization than we have today. But that civilization all across this planet collapsed, went into the gold age, ice age, and, humans died, massively died. Only a couple, maybe thousands survived, maybe 2 million, not even, on the whole planet survived this catastrophe where that triggered an ice age, a great flood, continental shifts that just people could not live. I also feel something about there was dinosaurs too. I don't know what this is about. Maybe this, I don't know if there were some dinosaurs left after the big explosion, something like that. Maybe there was a couple dinosaurs that survived this major catastrophe that were still living, but they were dying out. They were dying out after a couple centuries. So all of this is seeming pretty like, all these kinds of conspiracy type of theories. But as we become more advanced ourselves and start to have more an expansion of our mind and become more cosmic, we're going to realize that these theories of Atlantis, this advanced technology that we have evidence in, Egypt, is real. It's just I feel a group of people, elites, the same elites in the Middle East who damaged all the artifacts belonging to the ancient world. These men in Middle East went into a museum, damaged everything for no reason, just because they say they just want to. So there is a group that does not want people to know or have the artifacts that are already here. People have already found the Egyptian scrolls to Atlantis. The Egyptian scrolls that could also be written on large tablets or large pillars to Mars and the Mars Egyptian civilization millions of years ago. And it's just all hidden, because once people know and start to remember, we will no longer be the slave. We will no longer be slaves. We will realize, wait a minute, our history is more than just slaves. Wherever you go, even the Bible, if you look at history textbook, if you go to high school, look into other sources of spiritual scripts, it just seems that there's so much slaves. And this history that hasn't been disclosed is no slaves. There's no slaves at this time in this advanced civilization. And that's why it's so eye-opening, or will be eye-opening, because it's very different than what we think our history is. It's very different than what we think. All we think about is just our history is the Romans, the Greeks, and what's before that, Middle East, Egypt. And they're slaves then too. So there really is no period in our history where we don't have an idea of there's no slaves. So there's a history before pre-dynastic Egypt, before the first pharaohs, that we have no idea. Before the last ice age, we think that we're just hunters and gatherers running around, primitive, like cavemen. But there were humans that had, like shamans, advanced knowledge, esoteric knowledge that is equivalent to the knowledge of what we think of Pleiadians, Arcturians. We worship all indigenous people worship these star gods, star beings. But these humans that considered cavemen were actually advanced. But not every human there was different types of humans. I feel like there were hybrid humans, and there were also like primitive humans that were like ape people. But I just don't feel like we were just these aggressive ape humans, or I feel like we were indigenous. But I do feel like we also were cosmic. Like we understood the laws of the universe. So we weren't just like animal type of incarnation. We had some kind of esoterics on the knowledge of the universe that made us intelligent in some way, spiritually intelligent. And I feel like our DNA comes from these extraterrestrial beings that was infused, sort of the blueprint for us humans, or the different human beings we've had throughout millions of years, was actually architecturally kind of supported or designed by these, I feel, Orion beings. Like I'm hearing big, large Orion beings, like tall, massive giants that were very benevolent. And were like the founding fathers, and the Pleiadians were like the founding mothers that helped give birth to our like culture and art and music and sound and healing and love and compassion, philosophy, even science, understanding, cognitive thinking, forgiveness, culture, civilization. So I just wanted to add this additional kind of message, because going deeper into the El Dorado, there's just so much mystery behind the civilization. When it's discovered, it's going to be massive. It's not small. It's not a little gold palette you find on a rock. This is huge. And it's in a mountain, large underground caves, could be Middle Earth, who knows. But it's going to be as significant as Tehuacan. When they found Tehuacan, it was massive discovery, significant. When they found the Machu Picchu, it was massive discovery. This one will top it, because it will be the older one, very old. And it's going to be maybe dinosaur age, maybe after the dinosaur, like right around the ending of that.